Good morning. Welcome to Retro Toy Princess. I am Allison Troy, and welcome to this Sunday morning stream. I am coloring today from this 1984 Masters of the Universe coloring book. One of my projects for 2024 is to color the entire book, and I'm going to be working on this page today. And since it is a vintage book, I have scanned it and printed it out. So what I'm going to be working on today. We've got Tri-Klops and Man-At-Arms, and Man-At-Arms is working on a vehicle that I don't actually, it was never produced. I don't know if this was a concept for something that didn't come out or if it was just something they made up. So fun thing about the coloring books from this era is sometimes they just made stuff up to do a page, or it's possible this was an early prototype for some vehicle that never came out. So anyway, let's take a look really, excuse me, really quick and see who is in the chat. Good morning, Brendan. Lovely to see you today. Thanos, good morning. I still need to go watch your video for today, so I will do that after this. And good morning, Payne. Lovely to see you. I hope you're having a great day, Aaron. Yeah, so anyway, I'm going to work on this today. I'm just going to use Prismacolor. No reason to get fancy with it today, just the usual things. Really quick, I'm going to make a border, and we're going to add a planet or a sun to the background because why not? So I'm just going to use this light blue to do sort of my background for the sky area. So I'm going to use that as a border. And then I'm going to go in with a fine line and just actually bring some of this out a little bit. And so I'm going to come back in with the ruler, and I'm still just going to use the blue. It'll get covered up by whatever color I end up using for the ground. Mostly. Well, if not, it's fine. It's just for the frame. There we go. Actually, yeah, let me do this. And now I'm going to add, I don't know if it's a planet or a sun yet. Maybe one of those. Add one right there, and then definitely a bigger one sort of over here. There we go. So already it's a little bit more Mode 2 than it was before. Let's see. Oh. Good morning. Lovely to see you, Andrew. I just finished your May Day video. Very good. If you haven't checked out Gaby's Toys' new video on May Day from G.I. Joe Extreme, you should go check it out. It was pretty good. So, all right. So yeah. And since we've got two, one will be a sun, one will be a planet-ish. So I'm going to actually do this one with, I'm going to do the darker blue first for it. And then I'm sort of going with this dark blue. It is ultramarine. And do sort of some cratery things. There we go. And this is Blue Violet Lake. This is a more purpley, lighter blue. Some grayishness to it. I'm going to use that and just sort of blend out. You can have some nice weird planety things in the background. As often happens in Masters of the Universe art, there's planets, moons, weird suns, who knows. For me, that's a lot of the fun of Masters of the Universe, is sort of the randomness of the fantasy world. Since it's on a different planet, you sort of just go for it. As far as I know, there's not any consistent, any sort of like key or lore to what planets and moons actually show up in the skies of Eternia. I could be wrong. I mean, there are definitely a couple planetary maps that were made, especially during classics. But nothing, as far as I know, that gives sort of a breakdown of the cosmos as it appears from the planet Eternia. So maybe a fun project at some point for somebody on Motu to astrology of Masters of the Universe. All right, some more blue. Let's go in with this little nubby of cloud blue and sort of blend it out so it's got some consistency. Yep, there we go. We've got a blue planet. I'm going to adjust this camera just a smidge. There we go. All right, so yeah, now the top of, right where my top line is right at the top of the camera. So that way you guys should be able to see most of what's going to happen here. So, really quick. Yes, do that. I don't know if it is or not, if it's supposed to be. I've chatted with Adam at the Battle Round blog about whatever this vehicle is. And the consensus is it doesn't match any known concepts for any vehicles. So it's either a concept we haven't seen yet, it's an early prototype of, say, the Wind Raider that we never saw, or it's something the artist just made up. I lean away from it, supposed to be from it being some part of the Wind Raider, because that's pretty well documented. As far as, you know, like if you watch any of the Masters of the Universe documentaries, or if you have any of the books, we have a lot of concept art of what the Wind Raider was sort of from the get-go. So I don't think that that's what it is. I could be completely wrong. The nice thing about Masters of the Universe is every so often things pop up and all of a sudden we have all this new information and different development phases from the line. So it very well could be. All right, let's see. So for the sky, I'm going to do the trees like in a yellow chartreuse sort of greenish thing. So I'm going to just do some purple for the skies. And for that, I'm going to start with Parma Violet. And do kind of like a gradient build up with some pinks and stuff. Often in Filmation, there were like purplish skies. So let me go with the Filmation look here. I'm going to do it sort of almost like a gradient. But then that way the green of Tri-Klops and sort of the green of the trees and stuff. And I want to do, I think, orange and yellow for the rocks, so that it all kind of looks not of this earth, even though these are clearly supposed to be palm trees. This was probably based on some part of Redondo Beach in California, so that is where most, like Mattel at the time was based. I think still to this day, sort of in the LA area. So a lot of the artists in-house would have been in Los Angeles. So, or the surrounding areas. So, and this was still, I think, a lot of this art is still from the phase where Masters of the Universe hadn't really blown up yet. So they wouldn't have like the book that this is from was published in '84, but the pictures, a lot of the pictures are from earlier. And some of them are pre-filmation, and some of them you can see the filmation. Like the sorceress in it is the bird sorceress, but at the same time, she's outside of Grayskull, and she's giving the weapons to He-Man in the same way the Attorney and Goddess version of the sorceress did. So it's an interesting sort of phase from her too. It's part of why I like this book and decided I wanted to work on this one, is just because of that in-between nature. So I'm going to go in with hot pink. So we've got some purple and some hot pink for the sky. Let's check on chat and see really quick. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think probably you could with parts from it. Also, there are just several different ways that this could be easily customed up. So there's that too, yeah. I lean against it, toward it not being the Wind Raider, because the Wind Raider does appear in this book in a lot of pages, and it's toy accurate. So, yeah, it could very well be the Red Rocket. All red. I might do it in red. I don't know yet. It'll be like red or orange or something, just because it'll be, to help it stand out a bit more and not be quite so Wind Raider-y. I don't know, I'm doing the Rock Second orange and yellows. So I might actually go ahead and do like sort of bright, fiery red and orange for the whatever we end up calling it by the end of it. I'm leaning toward, I don't know if I can say what Andrew called it without YouTube coming in and restricting the stream. I had to go back a few weeks ago and edit a couple words out of a stream. And it's easy to go in and mute them because YouTube was saying it would cause the stream to be restricted. Not that, like after the first week or so, most of my live streams, live streams aren't necessarily on people's come in a year later and watch list anyway, but after that first week when everyone catches up, live streams don't tend to have a huge rewatch factor. But still, like, I like having them all up there. I like going in and watching them and listening to them, so I can remember what stories I've told. So yeah, because I don't like telling the same story over and over, although I probably do from time to time. All right, next I'm going with, this is Deco Pink, and it's just a lighter pink. Now I'm going to take this all the way up to the top of the sky. Sort of blend that out and then in. All right, and there, it's a sort of base coat's not quite right, but it's a basic layer about it. Oh, well, I'll have to check that out after stream. Derek, if I can keep from whistling. That means coffee is needed. Yeah, Thanos. That was I saw those messages and I was like, oh my goodness. I'm glad everyone seems to be okay though. Because then where will we get our a fun smut on the Instagrams? So I am now going to go in with Amethyst, which is a lighter purple. I'm going to use that to blend in the hot pink and the Pharma violet a little bit better and sort of even it out. And sort of, for me anyway, it works as a good in-between color. So let's get all that sort of smoothed out. And I'm starting to lean toward using just light colors for this, the moon or sun or whatever it's going to be. So I think I'm going to go in with like cream and maybe like a little bit of a lemon yellow. But otherwise, I'm not going to make it a darker color. I kind of like how it almost has like a glow to it as I add in all the other colors. So probably just a little bit around the edges. But otherwise, I think I'm going to leave it as it is, just so that it's sort of bright and cool. It almost has almost a synthwave feel to it, and I am still on my synthwave kick. So I enjoy music that sounds like it's from the 80s, but isn't from the 80s. Like every synthwave song to me feels like it could be a montage or like the opening to a cheesy horror movie. So we're good for that. Which will come in handy, Mr. Hoover, whenever we finish our screenplay for the dollhouse at the end of the street. And use all of Derek's Hollywood connections to sell it and make it go big. All right, there we are. It's a good blend. And now we're going to come in with what's left of this blush pink and use that to blend in the hot pink with the deco pink. Oh, and that, hello. Lovely to see you, Tony. Welcome. Glad to see you. Rhea, aka Rhea. Nice to see you. Thank you for popping in. I'm trying to get back into the swing of streaming after taking almost a full month off. It's good, don't get me wrong, but it's also sort of strange to get back into the mindset of it. So part of the reason I went ahead and was like, I'm just going to do this first solo stream back on my own without a guest, so I can get my live streaming head back on before I'm having to be here and entertain a guest and be a good hostess. So, but next week I have Kayla and Johnny from Geek BF out joining me. We're gonna do some Star Trek, obviously, and it's because I'm coming up on 1 year of doing YouTube content. And Kayla was one of my first live stream guests, and my first Sunday stream was with Johnny, and we did some Star Trek. So we're gonna get a little nostalgic. And then I've got the Toy Sorceress coming, and then Adam from the Battle at Rand vlog is going to be joining me in a couple weeks. So Andrew from Gady's Toys will be on sometime in the next couple weeks / month or so. So we've got a lot of cool guests coming. So it's kind of more incentive to just sort of get my stream back on my own, so I don't embarrass anyone or myself for their big shot coloring with food. Not quite, didn't come out quite. Yeah. All right, there we go. Got a decent looking sky in the background there. And I'm gonna go ahead and work on the, I don't know, the sun, the planet, the moon, whatever this is. I'm just gonna go in with cream, just sort of along the edges here. And hopefully we'll add to the glow effect so that it looks even more like it's glowing. I sort of restructured my desk stuff, so I don't have all the lighting back where it normally is. I need to. It's one of the reasons to do this as a solo stream is to figure out how to reset the lights and stuff with my current configuration. So let's check and see what's happening. Oh, this was from earlier. Oh. Hopefully everything in the shed was fine. Or there was nothing in the shed that was important. Okay, so I need a yellow ring. I'm going to use canary yellow, and I'm going to actually use that for the stalks of these trees as sort of the first bit of them. And I'm not going to do all of the tree sort of in the yellow, but I'm going to put a little bit of yellow in these palm leaves. And I'm going to go in with this as a orange. Yeah, it's a yellow to orange is what they're calling it. I'm going to use that to sort of do some highlighting on the yellow here. And just a little bit of that sort of in these trees. And then for the leaves themselves, I'm going to use a light aqua. Which hopefully will work with the yellow and the orange that I put in these trees to help sort of make it look like I'll give it a little bit more dimension. Because these are pretty flat the way they're dropped in here. Okay. All right. Well, not good that it was brand new and burnt down, but glad it was empty. I'm glad that was the biggest casualty. I had a friend in high school who, like, our senior year, like a month or two before graduation, her house burnt down, bad wiring, um, and she lost everything. So I was I was on the yearbook staff that year. So for a gift, I basically bought all of the yearbooks because we had extras. I bought all of the yearbooks from the time for our time in high school, and I went around and got everyone to sign them for her and gave them to her as like sort of at the end of the school year. So that it's not quite the same, obviously, because it wasn't. You get everyone to sign it every year. So there were people who had graduated from that there was no way to get, and there's no way to like replicate. But it was cool to get her all of that. I don't think they even do yearbooks still now that everything was like digital. Anyway, I just thought about that. It's really the first time I thought about that since high school. Oh, I'm dropping pencils. Okay. I'm just gonna go back in with this orange to yellow. And work the trees out a little bit more so they have a little bit more of a pop. And then just the tiniest bit of this yellowed orange around the outline of the moon. And again, it's going to help sort of make it pop out a little bit more. All right, and that's the first bit of our background. So, oh wait, that was the one already. Very good. All right, so now it's time for like grass, and I'm going to get this little bit back here that's behind Triclops, behind the rod. For that, I'm just going to use more of this light aqua. First, I'm going to sharpen it. So that there's a little bit of a point. And for this bit of grass or rock or whatever, I'm just going to roughly, but with the same aqua. Just not as much of it. Sort of the back row, I'll make a little pretty dark. And then this is a cobalt turquoise, so this is a lot darker. But it's still sort of in that aqua range. Use that just to make this really dark back here. Sort of doing it that dark helps make it look farther away as well. I'm going to go in and do this. I'm now going to go in with grass green and just add a little bit of that to parts of this in this middle section. And then some jade green. And here in the front, I'm going to use this is a light green. I'm going to use that. It's a little bit more of an aqua shade, and then that'll help sort of bring out all of the turquoise and the aqua that is in here. Okay, and that is the background part. Now I'm going to start working on the rocks. And first part of the rocks, I'm just going to again use this yellow to orange. And I'm not going to do sort of like, I'm not going to do complete coverage with this. I'm just going to roughly go in and put some layers down. There we go. Oh, good morning, Alex. Lovely to see you today. I hope you're doing well. All right, I have these 3 shades of orange. These are actually from the Prismacolor Scholar set. So they're not the normal sets that I use, but I quite like. These are a little bit more waxy than the regular Prisma, but I like some of the effect I can get from them. So I'm going to go in and sort of start making these rocks less of this yellow orange and more just sort of orange. How is your day going, Alex? I haven't gotten through all the messages yet, all the reels. I think most of you that are here so far today, most of us send a lot of reels back and forth. So. I've slowly been picking, because I'm technically not off today, so I could do this. So I get to spend as much time going through reels this morning as I did yesterday, but if you sent some stuff, I will get to it today. After we finish this in an hour and a half-ish, I'm gonna have lunch, and then I'm actually doing a pre-record with Ken from Toy Connections. I've been doing, I don't know if you, I know some of you have been watching them, I don't know if everyone has. I've been doing once a month thing I call my favorite toy, where I talk about some of my favorite toys and sort of the stories behind them. I'm going to start having guests for those. I mean, I'm still going to do mine, but I'm going to have one a month that's guest, and Derek and the Yesterday's crew did a pre-record for me talking about their favorite toy, which that should be later this month that debuts. And I'm doing a pre-record right now, today with Ken from Toy Connections talking about his favorite toy. And so that'll likely be August or September, depending on the production, because I have 2 or 3 others that are in various states. So that's exciting. And it'll be fun to sort of just hang out technically off stream with Ken and talk a little bit about his favorite toy. So it's kind of one of the things I really was interested in when I started the channel, is sort of the stories and the lore, which is part of why I've leaned into the coloring books, because so many of them have actual stories, and that we never got, or just part of the lore. So it's fun that it's going to be fun to get to do more with people's personal lore and stories around toys. Because a lot of that is, I think, why a lot of us still collect as adults. So, and I'm pretty sure Ken's going to talk about Transformers, and since I'm not a Transformers person at all, GoBots forever. It'll be interesting to actually, beyond his sort of Transformer history videos, it'll be interesting to learn a little bit more about Transformers. I still have never watched the Transformers movie. I didn't play with those toys as a kid. I did watch the GoBots movie where they met the Rock. Was it Rock Lords? Was that their name? I forget. I just know Margot Kidder was Solitaire. And I could never find Solitaire. And if you look up Solitaire now on eBay to try to purchase Solitaire, you basically need to sell an organ or be a rich person. So that's a line we need retro figures of Hasbro. Rock Lords. We need the Rock Lords. Right, so it's the first sort of level of getting the orange on the rocks. It would be nice if every time StreamYard does an update, my autofocus gets worse. So, well, good. I'm glad you're finally starting to work on some content. And so it'll be great to see one, like you're doing fun stuff now, but it'll be great when you have some more stuff for us to enjoy. I'm going to go in with more of sort of these oranges and just make the rocks sort of more cool. And then once I do Tri-Klops with all of the green that's in him, he should stand out more. While at the same time sort of matching the trees in the background, because sort of the trees and all of this sort of is more of his color scheme, and all of this is closer to Man-At-Arms' color scheme. And so, still don't know what color I'm going to do the vehicle. When I was doing the research for the episode of the Toy Geeks podcast for Jay, and it was the year that the Bashosaurus came out. The original name for Bashosaurus was supposed to be Ballbuster. And then they decided against it, but also Lee Scheimer at Filmation said he would never put a vehicle in one of his cartoons called Ballbuster. So, that was curious that they actually, I don't know if they ever thought it would actually get through. It might have just been, something, funny name around the office, and they knew it would never clear marketing, and because that's it's one of the places where the various like you'll hear about a different name for characters and stuff, especially in Motu during production, and then they got a different name when they were released, and a lot of that was the marketing department would change names to be something they thought was more marketable. So that was interesting to me because I didn't know that before I did the research, that marketing had basically the sort of, Mattel at the time, if they thought something would be more marketable, they could go in and change the name of the character. So that was kind of cool to learn. I think for the most part, looking at the names that marketing would change stuff to, I agree. Although, like, as a big Motu and Princess of Power geek, I enjoy sort of the idea of some of those original names. But I can, when you actually have to sell the toys, before there was a nostalgia factor, like, I get it. So, yeah, I'm kind of thinking blue and red also, just because it'll extra pop out based on all of the other colors I'm using too. So, morning, Cop. Lovely to see you. Thanks for popping in. Right. We all have loftier plans until the actual reality. Yep, exactly. So, yeah, no, and a lot of the times when all the customs I have yet to get started on or worked on, a lot of them are sort of just repaints to be more of the original concept colors and renamed as such. So I think that's part of, my overall geekery for toys as an adult, is all of that concept, the development of it. I guess it kind of makes sense with the stuff I do. I like seeing the development and sort of how things change from like the original creation of the idea to the final toy that hit the shelves. So, all of that is really interesting to me. That's why it was really cool when Jay was like, are you interested in this job? And I was like, yeah, because it gives me a much better reason than it's just 3 a.m. and I can't get to sleep to sort of dig into all of this stuff. So, yeah, Motu has a lot of really interesting sort of, it's really documented. And I bet you could probably sort of relate to this a little bit, Andrew. A lot of toy lines, when you're trying to research them, there's just not that information out there about the development side of it, unless it's, like Star Wars, there's a lot of sort of from like first year Kenner, like sort of like because they didn't get toys out the first year. A lot of that's documented. A lot of the behind the scenes stuff from like the first year or two of Star Wars when they were sort of getting going. There's a lot of stuff about sort of the micro collection that didn't take off back in the day, but there isn't as much, sort of documentation, even in sort of Sansweet's various books about Star Wars, about, sort of the ideas behind some of it. Like, we've seen pictures of stuff, but there's not as much concept stuff floating around where we get to see the progress of stuff. And, I'm sure there's a gazillion things Kenner wanted to do with Star Wars that never made it past somebody's desk on a drawing board that we won't know about because we just won't. Whereas Masters of the Universe, it's like all of those guys were artists and they held on to that stuff. So like all these years later, we get to see sort of, like Battle Ram blog, like Adam has his Tila. He just did a Tila video I highly recommend, where it's like there are 3 different prototype heads for Tila that went through before they finally settled on the one that was on the original figure. And it's just, there are a lot of toy lines we will never get the level of information we have on Masters of the Universe. And, I'm not going to pretend that some of that's probably not all the various people who want to say, I'm the one who created He-Man and I'm the one who came up with the name. Some of that I'm going to assume is partially that. But a lot of it is just like, most of the Motu fans are really interested in that. I mean, that is different. I don't see as much, like I know the information is out there about G.I. Joe Real American Hero, but I don't, it just seems like Motu fans are way more into the development, the creative side of it. So, and I could be wrong, but it just seems that there's less explaining whenever Masters of the Universe shows a figure that's, really based on a prototype than there is, like the Glinda situation with G.I. Joe was, to me, really strange that there were people who were like, who were, doing the, I've been a G.I. Joe fan my whole life, but they didn't know about Glinda. And, whereas, like Demo Man pops up and everybody, almost all of the sort of long-term fans know about Demo Man. I mean, it helps that he got a Classics figure, but at the same time, Classics is over almost 20 years old now. Like, the first one came out in, 2008? So it's not like it's a lot of people I didn't know about Classics until probably 2010. I was Googling, not Googling, I was on eBay, I wanted to pick up some She-Ra figures, and I found the Classics She-Ra. Back when you could still get those for like affordable. I think I paid like $35 for Classic She-Ra, like completely out of the package. But she was complete. She had everything. But she had been removed from the pack. She had just been a display figure. But I remember, oh my gosh, $35. And you go look at that She-Ra now on eBay, and it's just like, whoa. And so, I don't know. It's a different time. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's, yeah, modern stuff, obviously, there's a huge press around it, but even going back through old, so I have a bunch of digital copies of Toy Fair magazine, basically like from that first special that they did in like 96, 97 through like 2000. I have almost every issue in digital form. And even that, there's not as much discussion about, I mean, you'll see stuff that was announced that was going to come out and then didn't get released. But even when they're interviewing sort of people about the various lines, there's not sort of the focus on the unreleased stuff. A lot of that happened in sort of the Tomart's toy action figure, which I don't have. I don't think I have any of those with me. They're all in storage, and I definitely don't have any digital copies. But even those, there are some of the, you know, like the Masters of the Universe article is a perfect example. There's stuff in there that's just flat out not correct. And that has perpetuated sort of misinformation over the years. But that's also sort of the early part of, I guess, Toy History Archive or whatever. I don't know, what do we want? Toy history. Yeah, that was sort of the dawning of people actually going in and trying to build all of these histories. So, but yeah, so I mean, it's much easier like with modern lines because you get to talk to people, and you know, even Hasbro, when they do stuff, really talk about that process. So it's really cool. Yes. See, I'm sad we didn't get a Lords of Power Tila that was like Tila from the Gray Skull box. Like that's what for me is missing. Hello, Ted. Thanks for coming in. Lovely to see you today. Yeah, the first Tomart's wave did. First article, they did a couple different articles. The one that's written by, I forget, he's Toy Otter on Instagram. I forget his real name because I've only known him as like Toy Otter, and you know, like on Facebook and like his website and whatnot. I forget his real name, but he's the one who cleared all of that out through, you know, sort of invested. But he also did an article for Tomart where he cleared up a bunch of stuff. But that first one definitely, you know, sort of, you know, but I knew from the get-go when they said that couldn't be right because based on because of the costume they had her in, you know, it's the gray bodysuit, but that didn't happen until post-crisis, which was 1987 to 1988. And whenever they were developing superpowers, she had not, you know, Batman Year One was at least a year before any of the concept art even would have been drawn. So 100% like purple dress, Catwoman that we all sort of remember. I do wish somebody would give that. I would say McFarlane, but we all know like too many women. He's on a Wonder Woman kick, so. But I do wish somebody would give us an updated Catwoman figure in her pirate outfit. I've got the reproduction of the Mego of that, and it's a fun costume. I know people, you know, who don't like it and think it's really dumb, but I really think it's a really fun costume. So. Toys should be fun. All right, we've finished our orange, yellow, goldy rocks, whatever color they are. I'm gonna go ahead and do Tri-Klops. So we can get the whole back of this complete. I'm gonna start with Tri-Klops. I'm gonna use eggshell. This is sort of if you've watched enough of these, this is sort of my base coat for Caucasian skin tones. Get that all filled in. There we go. And then just after that, I filled up. This is pumpkin orange, and pumpkin orange, it tends to be my go-to for second level that goes on top of that eggshell. And so let's go in and sort of some rough shading of it. Sort of trace the muscles and stuff. But it's pretty small, so I don't can't get too detailed with it without sort of losing some of the, without it getting too muddled looking. And then next I'm going to go in with Nectar, which is a little bit darker, but it's a pretty decent skin tone. And it blends well with that, the pumpkin orange. Oh. Light I use for whatever reason suddenly the timer works. I used to always try to set the timer and it would never work. And I take almost a month off of live streaming, and somewhere in that month it decides, oh, we're going to work and we're going to automatically turn off during streams. So, thankfully I don't use it to film anymore. That would be annoying. Alright, and now to finish up his skin, I'm just going to go in with light peach and sort of use that to blend in all of the different shades. So at the end of it, we should have, it should be kind of tan, but also based on the light, it should have the right consistency for shadows and stuff. So. All right, there we go. And his trunks are black, so I'm just going to go in and do the trunks really quick. And then the top of his head is black. I'm going to make the sides here also black. And we're going to assume this is his red eye. Just go ahead and get that in there. And I'm going to use an apple green for his visor. I'm going to go in with different colors. I'm just going to use different pressure on the pencil to sort of give it texture and different, and give it a different look. Just because it's such a small area, but if I go in with too many shades, it'll muddle it up too much for my taste. And really quick, there we go. I just went and pulled up a photo reference of the cross sell for Tri-Klops. I was spacing on the colors. So the belt is green. And then the shoulder pads are green. So I'm just going to do the same here where I just use this one color, but use the pressure, and this is pretty textured paper. So that's going to help give it a little bit of texture to it and help me create sort of the look that I would normally go in and use a bunch of different pencils and shading to create. But just because it's such a small area, if I try to do too much of that, it looks a little too busy. So there we go. Oh yeah, definitely. Thank you. That's right. Now that you said that, I remember that. Yeah, exactly. Multiversity does great. If you are on Instagram, I heartily recommend Multiversity. They do some great superpowers style customs. Well, I believe they're renders, but to me, that's as good as the actual physical custom. Hello, Stanley. Lovely to see you. Thanks for popping in today. Hope you're doing well and having a good day. All right. Just dealing with the last of the green here. Makes me extra glad I left this sort of white and then went with that purple scheme. It feels like his armor stands out a lot better. And now I'm going to go in with the orange and do all the orange parts of his costume. And then I'm just doing the different pressures and sort of get that, because again, it's just so small. Which I'm sure he's heard before, so. Yes, that was Shade Toward Tri-Klops. I'm doing pretty good so far. It's been a pretty quiet morning. It's pretty warm here in the Pacific Northwest. So we have the AC on, and it's been pretty pleasant, all things considered. So you would think, as somebody who grew up in the South and spent a lot of time in Texas and Louisiana, that the heat wouldn't bug me as much. But I've been up here so long that the last time I went back south during the warmer months, it was pretty horrific. I suffered. So I have adjusted to the more moderate temperatures up here, and that's okay. So actually, I have changed my mind. I'm going to actually use the grass screen a little bit in this armor. Not a lot, but just a little bit here and there. It should be okay. Just if I do just the corners and just these edges, here we are. So there we go. And there we have a Tri-Klops. So. Oh, it's like every time StreamYard does whatever update it is they do, it's like their autofocus gets worse. I do not have the autofocus issues when it's not StreamYard. So, for the ground, I'm going to use this orange, especially because I do like the suggestion of red and blue for the blocker. The red rocket, as it were. So it has to have some red if we're going to call it red rocker. So I'm going to start with the orange, and that also ties into the rocks here. Not a lot, so that we don't lose the red of this thing. And down in here, it'll be much looser and much lighter, because this is where I'm going to lean into the yellows. Okay. All right. Use a slightly darker one in these places where there are rocks. Well, it's not. It's sort of a darker orange. The other orange I use has more red, so technically that one's darker. This is a sort of darker orange. Let's use some of the yellow that I used up in the rocks, down in the ground around the rocks, but I'm not going to use it for the whole thing because it's too close to Man-At-Arms' armor. So sort of bring that out right in here. And then I'm going to go in with more of a brown, or sort of a taupe-ish color. Okay. All right, I'm going to go in, it's called sand. So somewhere on a beach, what better color to use than sand? And it's very sort of light. This is usually what I use for Luke Skywalker's pants from A New Hope, because it's that sort of a sandy brown color. Even though those pants he wore were basically just jeans bleached white. So I'm going to go in and right up in here, use it to sort of blend it out and in. Have more of a saturation. What are you work? What kind of photos are you shooting, Thanos? Should I ask? All right, here we go. See, so I'm enjoying how the sand is blending out the oranges and the yellows, and it will help me not lose my Man-At-Arms once I go in and start using the oranges and the yellows for his armor. And it'll make the blue and red here. Once we get started on this fly-in, I guess I don't know, does it fly? It looks almost like it's some sort of sea vehicle, because these look like flotation, and this looks almost like it would be a motor. So, and it's on a beach-ish, it looks like. So, I don't know. That's a good question. Since it was never officially released, we can just make up what it is. So I'll just call it yeah. So looks like this is some sort of a rocket right here. This is the front. It would look like, based on where the steering wheel is, this is the front. So that's a rocket that probably shoots. And this is the engine in the back. Not sure what, handlebars maybe? I don't know. Maybe somebody's supposed to ride in the back there. It very much, the way this is constructed, looks like it was some sort of toy prototype the artist was given to work with. So maybe in the next 2 or 3 years we'll find more early production art will crop up, and this will show up, and then we'll know the answer to what this is and what it was supposed to be. Because it just doesn't look close enough to the Wind Raider especially when the same artist got the Wind Raider right in earlier pictures that predate Tri-Klops. Or maybe the artist just made it up. It's possible too. It just seems unlikely Mattel would let artists just sort of make up stuff like that, because technically, just based on how Mattel, especially in the day, was about sort of like art and patents and copyright stuff, the ownership of the creation of said vehicle would be a little odd if the artist just made it up. So but who knows? We probably won't know, because I'm going to assume the artist is no longer with us. Because a lot of the artists who are working, let's see, this one was, see, this is, well, it was a Golden Book. So Western Publishing Company, and I believe this is after Mattel sold them, because for a while Mattel had purchased Western Publishing. Ruth Handler, that's her last name. I could be wrong. Could be misremembering, but Ruth, one of the original founders of Mattel, before she had her legal troubles and became an ex-convict, they bought a bunch of companies to try to diversify, and one of them was the company that makes Golden Books. So for a big chunk of time, whenever you were buying Western Publishing, when they were doing Barbie books and Masters of the Universe, they were actually a wing of Mattel. So when you look back and see sort of all of the Barbie coloring books and all of the Masters of the Universe compared to some of the other properties, it kind of makes sense, because it was actually a Mattel subsidy for most of that time. So it was just sort of They could very cheaply make a gazillion coloring books for those properties, whether they were selling a ton or not, because they owned it all. If I remember right, they sold golden books at a loss. And it was sometime in the 80s, so around the time this would have been coming out. But still, if you look back at how many coloring books there were for Masters of the Universe through golden book, even before Masters of the Universe blew up the way it did later, it kind of makes sense when she realized Mattel owned them for a portion of that time. And it makes sense. I mean, it's like synergy, it's cheap. It's a lot easier than going and licensing. And so, yeah, and they did a lot of licensed books. It's not like they only did Masters of the Universe. It's just the amount of Masters of the Universe, even as successful as it is, seems really out of balance with some of the other properties they did. So, hello, Kareem. I hope that's how I pronounce it. If not, please correct me. Hello, Oz. Welcome. You made it up. Yeah, that makes sense. Sounds like you. Yep. Tila in a dress would be super rad. Sweet. Yeah, that's another reason we need, because, yeah, some of these books, Tila does have sort of a skirt. So, the original intention with Tila's outfit was that she would have a more generic body, and the armor was an overlay, so they could have very easily done the skirt in that reality. All right, it's time to start Man-At-Arms. I'm going to go in and start with the apple green, even though it's closer to the actual toy color. So I'm going to use that as my first level of Man-At-Arms. And just get all of the stuff that needs to be green. And now I'm going with this darker, it's an olive green. So I'm going to just use the olive green to sort of do my shading. Oh, okay. And I've done the shading with the olive, and I'm just going to go back in with the apple green and sort of blend the two together. So it's not quite the toy colors, it's closer to the cross-cell color of Man-At-Arms. Another Man-At-Arms variant I would like to get is cross-cell colors. Both the original Alcala from the Wave 1 mini comics, as well as just what we got on the back of the actual card itself. So, if you're listening, Mattel, these are variants that I would enjoy that basically just require some paint and plastic choices. and a cape, which after my cartoon collection Evelyn, which I still need to unbox, apparently capes are an issue, so we'll see. Alright, we got his bodysuit done. And then for his little bit of face, again, we're going to start with that eggshell. I'm going to skip the pumpkin orange stuff that I did with Tri-Klops, and I'm just going to go straight to the nectar. This is seashell pink. I'm going to use that to sort of do the blending in. And because through that process we do sort of lose his features, I'm going to go in with a black fine liner and sort of redraw those. So his face is in all blurry. Alright, there we go. Exactly, Saturday. I've got a whole stack of stuff that if the stars had aligned would have gotten unboxed. I've got a cartoon merman, a cartoon Evelyn, Reptilex. I finally got that Sunman, the last 3-pack of the Rulers of the Sun. My Night Stalker is over there and still in the Mattel mailer. I've got my vintage collection Princess Leia, like the white gown one. That one will probably happen. Unfortunately, not on a Clubhouse. That one will probably, I'll probably do that as a video for the channel because, you know, it's Leia. And then I have the, it was on sale for like $8, so I got the updated Golden Dream Barbie. I was not a huge Barbie person as a kid. She was a little, she's just a little too much for me. Golden Dream Barbie, though, is one of the exceptions. That was a Barbie I, as a kid, always kind of... She was expensive, though. I think some of my aversion to Barbie was also just... The cool ones were always the expensive ones. So... But it's a modern version of it, and it was less than $10, and I'm like, okay. Because I was looking at the original Golden Dream Barbie on eBay, thinking, oh, you know, but no, not so much. And then they did a retro reissue of it, and that is also equally expensive. So I was just like, I guess, not so much. And then I saw the new one, sort of the modern tribute to her for like less than $10. I'm like, that's perfect. The main thing she's missing, of course, is there were those skirts and the capes that came with the Golden Dream Barbie, but I did look those up on eBay. And those pieces you can get on eBay for like, you know, less than $10 each. So I can just pick up pieces and sort of make my own. Anyway, not that most people care about my Barbie content, but oh well, it's a live stream. You get what you get, so. But yeah, anyway, that's one of the, so I don't know what, if I'm gonna, I might just, maybe I'll save that for a special episode of Clubhouse. So, we'll see. Ooh, that's a maze. That would be a good time for Golden Dream Barbie. Let me stuff my face with pizza and acknowledge I will never obtain a Barbie physique. Not that I want to at this stage in my life, but this Man-At-Arms also has this furry shoulder fur, so whatever we're calling it, this fur lining. Also, we haven't got a proper Lords of Power Man-At-Arms yet on an individual card in Mattel. So, if you're listening, that's something you could do. As if they're listening. I don't know. You never know. All right. Right, for Man-At-Arms armor, I'm going to actually use Spanish orange, which is a little bit different than the yellowed orange, but it's closer to the actual vintage toy plastic. So, if you see me doing Man-At-Arms in a short or another video, this is probably the yellow I use. Is a Spanish. Again, they call it Spanish orange, but it's really just sort of a golden yellow. I'm not sure if Spanish people don't know what yellow is. It seems unlikely. It just seems like somebody thought, oh, we'll call it Spanish orange and it'll sound more exotic. And when they, next time Prismacolor redoes the sets, it'll be like golden yellow or something like that, or golden orange. And they've started changing all of the names of the pencils. Like the pencil that used to be called Flesh is now called Peach, which is far more accurate. And so it's been interesting to see them finally sort of getting with it, because none of the no modern sets refer to Peach, Caucasian skin tones as Flesh anymore, because it's not accurate. So, but I assume Spanish orange here will get a name upgrade within the next 4 or 5 years, because one, it's not, in my opinion, orange at all, and two, that doesn't seem. I maybe missed that day in art class, but I was not familiar that Spanish people only have this color and call it orange. So, and if I'm wrong, please, any Spanish people watching, feel free to correct me. All right, now I'm going to go in with the yellowed orange and just sort of use that to shade in parts of his armor, as though I haven't already shaded it enough. This is shading with a pencil, not with sarcasm. It does make me wish there was a pencil called like Canadian Red that could just be like orange. Oh yeah, I like as a kid, the Golden Dream Barbie, Barbie and the Rock. Obviously, if you watch my shorts, you know that I love me some '80s Barbie, but especially Barbie and the Rockers. Like, yeah. So I don't know, '80s Barbie in general is just kind of fun. Like the Golden Dream, Barbie and the Rockers is just, in my opinion, sort of like, it doesn't get more 80, although it was sort of like let's kill Hasbro's gem line. So it's kind of bittersweet in a lot of ways, because that's kind of what killed Gem, was the oversaturation, and Barbie, of course, had more money to back up if sales weren't so great. But I don't know. It's kind of my second favorite Barbie era, and it's, as I've been digging into it, it's really interesting because there are 2 different origin stories for Barbie and the Rockers. The first one is the sort of original one, and it also is because of sort of Barbie. And this is sort of a Mattel thing where it's like, on the one hand, you have to kind of try to grow and evolve with your audience, but because, you know, originally Barbie was a teenager. And then in the 70s, she started not being a teenager. They started sort of making her more of an adult. And then in the 80s, there was like the day to night Barbie and the exercise Barbie, great shape Barbie, where she is portrayed as an adult who like has a job and lives out on her own. So when Barbie and the Rockers first premiered, she was an adult who lived on her own, although her sister Skipper lived with her. Like, I guess she was taking care of Skipper, or Skipper was there for the summer. But she joins the rock band, tours the world. And then later, like in year 2, whenever they bring Ken over, all of a sudden they de-age them all. And Barbie and the Rockers are all friends who go to high school together, and they start the band, and right after they graduate, they hit it big. And it's just really interesting to sort of like the de-aging of Barbie. And you can, during the 80s, it happened a lot, where it's like, depending on which Barbie they were trying to sell you, depending on how old she was or wasn't. So it's sort of that weird thing that, yeah, it's just, to me, it's really odd that like her age was all over even within the Barbie and the Rockers toy line, the various lore that came up, like they kept shifting her age around to kind of sell it. It's like, even to this day, is Barbie a teenager or is she in her 20s? And it's like they still kind of don't seem to have a clear idea on it. So and that is a subject for a video at some point, but not anytime soon. There's still so much to dig into there. Right. Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Where are all the other oranges, guys? Well, the story behind Totally Hair Barbie is also interesting. I listened to as part of sort of researching Motu for Geek Dad Life. I listened to sort of this. It was written like in the late 2000s, like I think 2008, 2009. And a lot of the Motu stuff was a little off. Like, the writer did not actually research the line well enough, because he was like, among first year offerings was Extendar. It was sort of that off. Which, and most people aren't going to even know, but it annoyed me. It's like, sir. His Barbie information was on, and that was sort of the focus of it, was, just sort of how, but 90s hair, the great hair, no, the Totally Hair Barbie, oh gosh, I forget her name, but the then Mattel CEO, who later was fired, who sounds like a horrible boss. She basically wanted that, and the engineering department was like, "Oh, there's not really a way to make it work," and she basically told them make it work. So she did do some terrible stuff, and definitely seems like a horrible boss to have, based on the information in the book. But at the same time, like, it's because of her. And part of how she got that job was she was part of what helped turn Barbie around in the 80s, because Barbie sales were actually down for a long time. Everyone sort of talks about, oh, like, Masters of the Universe was selling more than Barbie, but some of that was Barbie was suffering. She wasn't quite as popular as she had been, in the early 80s, I'm going to say some of that might have been strawberry shortcake, if I had to guess, because strawberry shortcake was huge. So, yeah, some of that also I think was, I'm not going to lie, I think some of it is sort of that confusion over Barbie's age and like, is she a teenager? Is she a young adult? Is she still in high school? What I will say is when I played Barbies, I never played Barbie like I never wanted Barbie to be in high school. I always wanted Barbie to be like an adult who was out doing adult stuff. And that's what I always thought she was. So as all these decades later, as I dig into Barbie lore and find out that she was intended to sort of be a high school student all this time, except for a few outliers, it's just a little surprising to me. So but she's been around for like decades at this point, and is probably the top selling toy brand of all time. You know, I mean, even as far as I can tell, Barbie even outsells Star Wars. Even in its heyday, was still outselling Star Wars for the most part. So, anyway, there's just a lot. There's a lot there. It's really interesting. So I definitely forget the name of the book, but I definitely recommend reading into that because, again, if you're interested in toy history and stuff, like there's a lot of really interesting stuff in there. I will find the name of the book, and by the end of the stream, I'll find it before I sign off for those who are interested. All right. Oh wait, I missed a finger. I hope he misses a finger too whenever he's got the power tools. Let me fix that really quick then. Because now it's time to figure out what we're going to do with this machine. This unnamed flying thing that looks like a wrench in his one hand. So for the wrench, I'm going to go with this darker orange just so that it stands out. Use a little bit of it to shade his armor while I think about. So we're going to do red and blue for most of it. Use like some yellow for where the console is, little things. Probably do yellow for this little. I'm gonna assume this is sort of like the exhaust, like where the flames come out of the back. Is that the fuse? No, it's not the fuselage. Whatever it is, they're on planes. Words are hard. So yeah, I think I'll do this with like yellow, and then some of the console in yellow, and no, about the steering wheel yet. Anyone have any ideas about the steering wheel? I'm open to. You would have thought I would have thought about this more deeply, but no, I didn't. I focused on these rocks when I was planning this page today. I didn't think too much about the machine in the back. Everyone. Oh, yeah. That's the problem with, like, when trees are damaged. Like, if you don't get them out, they can just calm down and ruin everything. When I lived in areas with hurricanes and tornadoes that were regular, often you would lose. Even if it didn't get sort of torn up out of the ground, you'd have to have it all assessed so that the next big ones are just gravity sometimes would bring it crashing down around you. So, all right. So for the console, I'm going to sort of go the bottom half here as yellow. to that is yellow. We'll figure that out first. Now, we're going back to our Spanish orange. We'll use that to sort of shade out the console here. We'll do some shading in here. Ooh. All right, so the rocket in the front definitely should be red. This is our projectile. This is the thing that you would, for the actual toy, hit the button right there and it would fire. So let's make that red. And plus we're calling it the red rocket. And so let's make the actual rocket red. We'll start with a dark crimson red. And then since this is technically the launching component, we're also going to make this red. And then we'll make the exhaust. Start that with red. And then I'll bring that out. So the steering column the steering wheel should be red also. I'm trying to apply Mattel toy color scheme here. And then the seat, even though this is all, we can't see the rest of the seat, but the inner seat would be red. And since that would all be molded as one piece of plastic, also red here on the floorboard. So this would all be 2 or 3 pieces of plastic, I think. So all of this would be blue, but these little flotations or more rockets or whatever, these would also probably be red if this was an actual toy. So I'm just going with the crimson again. And this isn't going to be I'm going to add more reds to it. So for now, I'm just sort of getting the color down so I have in my head the scheme and what it all looks like. I'm going to go in with some different reds to sort of make it more. Right, so I'm going to use more yellow here because this is probably where Mattel would have put stickers. They would have had some sort of design on it, but we're not going to worry about a design. We're just going to let this be yellow. This is a decal. But it would have had like a griffin or a dragon or some such right there. And then they probably also would have had like a decal right here. So we'll make this also yellow because this is another decal. And this again would have probably some sort of monster or dragon or lizard or something on it. And these are some sort of like electronic components. So I'm going to use orange, excuse me, orange right there. I'm going to use this green and just put some like buttons right in here, and then a little strip of some sort of green light down there. And then like a button there. All right, we have our control panel. Oh no. Oh. There you are, Andrew. That's the name. That's what we're going with. This is the shuttlecock. It even kind of looks like one of those from badminton. And believe it or not, badminton was one of the few sports I was good at in school. I was very good at using the racket to smack the shuttlecocks away from my face as they would fly out my nose. So, get that away. So anyway. All right, I'm going to go in with this slightly darker red, and I'm going to use the darker red for the interior tab. And again, because this would just be one chunk of plastic, as Mattel would have made this. And so it would all come from the same, this one. And probably even this part would also be part of it with the sticker over it, which means this should probably be red too. Let's go in and do red. Right there. There we go. That looks like a Mattel cockpit. And I'm going to use the same red for the missile here in front. And then for the matching part in the back. And this again, because all of this would probably be the same type of plastic, and possibly, depending on the construction, one piece. Well, I mean, not the firing missile part, but the rest of it. All right, and now for these, I'm going to use Poppy Red, which is a little bit brighter. It's more of an orangey, brighter red. So it's not quite as dark. It's not crimson. I'm going to use that for this, because this would definitely be a different plastic. Because these would like clip in. So these would come in the box. And two of them, this one and the one on the other side, would be like in a plastic bag together, and then you clip them in. And you would lose one of them, but not both of them. So you would always have a lopsided shuttlecock. All right, this back here probably also would have been a sticker from Mattel. So I'm going to use a little bit of the orange because this would be made to look like it was ignited. So that sort of gives it that fiery engine thing happening. And use the orange in the rest of and sort of the yellow part so it almost has like a glowy effect. There we go. All right. Phase one. So yeah, I do think they would do blue for the rest of it. So we're going to go with True Blue. It's a lighter blue. It's what I used for his helmet. And I pretty much would use, the rest of this would all be one plastic. So I'm just going to use this color for the rest of this. Okay. I like, I forget who suggested it. I think it was Andrew who suggested the color scheme. I like it, so thank you. If it was not Andrew, I apologize to whoever it was that suggested it, and that I'm giving Andrew the credit. But he's Canadian, they don't get credit for very much. Thank you, Brian Adams, for ruining it for Canadians. But so we'll just let Andrew have this one if it was somebody else who came up with it. So. No worries, Stanley. Not a problem at all. Excellent. If good question. I would draw on stickers if it was like a short. So if it was a short, I would probably draw on some stickers. But for a live stream, my goal is to kind of try to finish it before the end of the stream, which I usually go for 2 hours, and I've got about 5 minutes left. So we're gonna go a little over today because I'm gonna finish this on stream. But if I were doing it I may go back and redo this page later as a short or as a longer video where I make the decals, but in an attempt to finish this today on stream so that everyone can see sort of the completed look. No decals today. I definitely have ideas, but also that takes a little bit of time to sort of think it through and design them. But it would be cool if there's somebody who does, if I know people who do digital render, so I should reach out to somebody and see what we could arrange, because it would be kind of cool to. And this, just based on the proportions here, like this wouldn't actually be a particularly large vehicle. So might reach out to some of the people I know that do digital renders and chat with them to see. I mean, it definitely need to be 2 or 3 pieces. Just even the way Mattel would make it, it would have to be 2 or 3 pieces that clip together. Before it went into, like on the production side. In the box, it would just be this big thing with these, and like the missile wouldn't be. What you would attach those after you opened it, but on the reduction side, this would be about 3 pieces. Like the red part, the interior would come up from the bottom. So the bottom of this is probably also red, because that would just be one big hunk of plastic. Or there would be a separate panel that sort of screws in or attaches the laser welding at the factory. So it's good I sort of have all that out in my head, so that if I do go to somebody who does digital renders and like, hey, what can we do? I can sort of walk them through how I think Mattel would have put this together, which probably makes their job a lot easier. So yeah, it definitely has. Now that it's sort of all these colors are in here, it definitely like looks like. Not that the early waves didn't do as many primary colors. It was all darker, more muted. And then around 80, 84, you start getting really bright, really colorful stuff. So yeah, this would definitely be like post film, post attack track. Because the Wind Raider is sort of that like darker green, and even the Battle Ram is a darker blue color. So yeah, I think this is definitely sort of 1984 product. It would have it would have He-Man flying it on the front of the box, and he'd be like firing the missile at like Stinkor and Too Bad, with like Mossman and Tila in the background cheering him on. Or maybe Clawful, or like maybe Clawful and Stinkor and Too Bad getting fired at. Clawful would have been peg warming at that point, so definitely he should have gone on the box to help kids be like, oh, I need to get one of the 30 Clawfuls sitting on the shelf, even though I can't get He-Man. Buzz Off would be in the sky flying above it. So yeah, it'd be like Mossman, Buzz Off, Tila, He-Man flying, and then Stinkor, Too Bad, and Clawful. So there we go. There's the marketing for the shuttlecock. Battling, land skimming, mobile device, or something like that. We would have. They always gave the vehicles those like fun little fun little like taglines under it. Oh yeah, it's definitely. I would have wanted this toy. It would have been bright and blue and colorful. And they could have even molded it in purple and made it an Evil Warrior vehicle later. A little bit, but Care Bear's Cloud Car would be a lot softer. uh, yeah, yeah, yeah. It demolishes his back door. Oh my goodness. That I can hear the commercial now in my head. Demolish Skeletor's back door with a shuttlecock. Snake Mountain never saw it coming. In the commercial, they would fire the little rocket in the front so that it went through the hole in Snake Mountain. And then there could be another scene where it fires into that face in the side of Snake Mountain, right in the nose. Yeah, there we go. It would have just the right amount of, and because it's funny, like whenever Revelations came out, there are a lot of people who got really mad about like that line Fisto had, like I would like to fist that, where people were like, "Oh my God, I was scandalized. I was with my kids," and it's like, you guys realize that half of like that was part of the charm of Masters of the Universe back in the day, is a lot of their names were innuendos, and not all of them just, like Clawful obviously is pretty, but there was some, again, Bashosaurus was originally supposed to be Ballbuster. Like there was definitely, there's no way that somebody at Mattel did not, when they picked Fisto as a name, they had to be snickering. Like they knew of the jokes. Like he's gonna fist you right now. Like there's no way that that did not enter behind. So I don't know. Like, and for most kids, that joke is gonna go over your head. Like, and so anyway. So to all the adults scandalized watching that with their kids, it's just because you know what it means. Your kids don't know what fisting is. Well, they might. The internet is, either way, if they have the internet and they know what it is, they snickered too for the same reason you did. So, all right. Oh, 205. We're getting toward the end. Right. Not the rear entrance. Yeah. Oh my gosh. We need to get this made right now. I need to find somebody who will render it 3D so we can make it and we can make that commercial happen, Oz. Because, oh my God. All right, almost done. All right, there we go. All right, not bad. 2 hours and 7 minutes. So that's pretty good. Yeah, exactly. I still feel like we need a Battle Fist because that was his 2000 and X name because Fisto was, thanks to Lucasfilm, temporarily unavailable. Like Battle Fist Fisto, where he has like 2 fists and like double punch, basically like sort of the action, like picture it. It's like Flying Fist He-Man, but Fisto with 2 fists. Like, like Mattel, come on. Like you're missing an opportunity for deluxe Battle Fist Fisto with double fisting action. Anyway. All right. So, all right, this is done. And we have christened it the Shuttlecock. Thank you. Color scheme by Andrew. I think Shuttlecock, that was you, Oz, correct? I feel like that was you. No. Yeah, it was. Okay. Here we go. I think. Okay, I'm not saying in chat. It looks. I see Andrew saying it, and I see Oz, but it's not telling me who said it first. So, either way, we'll let Oz and Andrew share Shuttlecock until I can figure out in chat who said it first. Either way, Andrew, due to the Anne Murray Convention of 1979 and the continued assault on common sense and decency of Bryan Adams, definitely gets the color scheme. So, so anyway, I will take a picture of this and post it on Instagram as always. I thank you very much for hanging out with me today. I know we went a little longer than normal, but every so often. Okay, so there we go. Oz. It just in chat, the way it, and we all, everyone who uses StreamYard knows sometimes StreamYard flips things around. And at one point it showed Oz calling it Shuttlecock first and then Andrew. But I just went back through and it showed Andrew first. So, well, we'll just do it Mattel style. You both get the trademark and then we never use it, so you never get money for it. That's just what they would do. Thank you, Stanley. It was definitely fun. And yep, I will see you all around in the various chats later today. So thank you so much. I appreciate you all. Next Sunday, I will be here live with Kayla and Johnny from Geek the F Out. We'll be doing some Star Trek. Tomorrow, I've got a video going live at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time called My Favorite Toy Birthday Bear. Coloring a picture of Birthday Bear from the Care Bears with the story about Birthday Bear. And then Friday is Star Wars Color and Chill, Tusken Raiders, and then 1994 Kenner Toy Booklet on Saturday. So anyway, thank you so much for hanging out with me today and helping me get my live stream groove back. By next Sunday when I have guests, I'll be ready back up where I was before I took time off. So thank you, everyone. I appreciate you. Alice and Troy, Retro Toy Princess out.